Hello and welcome back to the Full 10 Yards Betting Podcast. After last week, I'm still allowed to be your host for this week. Adam's let me carry on in the chair, which is very, very nice. So yeah, I'm Liam, your host, and as always, I'm joined by what I've written on my notes is my friend and your friend, who hopefully wins you lots of money, Adam, aka Touchdown Tips. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, hopefully earn you some money this week after a pretty dismal week on here, and for my personal bets last week, it wasn't a pretty one. So yeah, fingers crossed it'll get a lot better this week.
Yeah, for transparency, we were going to do the stats every week, and this was the first week of the three. I was like, let's delete that section, but we're going to stay honest and go through it. We were 4 for 12 last week, with Tim going 2 for 4. So me and Adam got one each, which is not good.
Yeah,
So we've had a players only meeting. We've changed a few things around. We've benched Bryce Young, and now we're back to try and improve our bets for week 3. But yeah, week 1 and 2, the most unpredictable weeks. So I'm hoping week 3 is a bit of a better result for us. In terms of the plan, we'll go through our game of the week, which is this week is the Cowboys and Ravens game. Then we'll go spread of the week, totals of the week, and then we'll end with touchdown scorers as well. As always, we've got our mythical Tim's selections as well. Even though he's no longer here, he's going to keep winning us all money, hopefully. But let's start with game of the week, and that is of course involving Tim's team, Cowboys v the Ravens, mate. Before we go into best bets, this is kind of quite an important week, I feel like, for both of these teams. Cowboys got drubbed last week by the Saints, and the Ravens have got a pretty tough schedule and already 0-2. How do you feel like this game's gonna look from a watching perspective? Because I feel like it's quite important for both teams.
it definitely is, isn't it? As you say, the Cowboys at least are 1-1, and in not the most difficult division, obviously. The Commanders and the Giants, well, they played each other, so one of them had to win, but neither of them exactly look great. The Eagles don't even look great either, to be honest, obviously, through the game away at the end of the game on Monday. But yeah, they can't afford to fall behind, and the same with the Ravens. The Ravens are 0-2, obviously, big numbers against making the playoffs. If you start 0-3, you're looking pretty much out of it. Although again, their division is faltering. Obviously, the Bengals are 0-2, Browns 1-1, and the Steelers are somehow 0-2. But I don't think anyone's expecting that to carry on with Pittsburgh. So it at least in division, they're not probably not that far behind where they probably need to be. So, but yeah, it's incredibly important for them to get back on track. And yeah, as you say, they've not had an easy start, but Chiefs, obviously they should have beat the Raiders last week. It's crazy that
Yeah.
they gave away the lead they did against a poorer team than they are. Um, but maybe Lamar thought it was playoffs. I don't know. It was a rough one to watch the end of, especially because it knocked me out of Survivor, along with I think the remaining half, well, at least half of the remaining people in it. It was horrible to watch the end of that game.
I had the Chargers in Survivor just because they were playing the Panthers. That was the motto: just go against the Panthers. I think.
Yeah, I just
But
to
yeah,
see
a
the
lot of
Chargers
people.
on the road panicked me.
Yeah, true. Jim Harbaugh Chargers slightly different, but it does. Yeah, Bengals then Ravens seems to have killed people for their Survivor pool. In terms of this game, the spread is Ravens -1.5. Spoiler alert: all three of us have gone for a player prop for our best bet. But any opinions on that spread? Obviously, it's basically picking who you think is going to win the game. Any kind of thoughts on that? Will you be putting that up in any of your selections?
I mean, I guess I'd lean the Ravens on it. They are the more desperate. I think there's probably strong stats behind 0-2 teams going against non-0-2 teams. I don't know those off the top of my head, but obviously desperation time. You're going to throw out everything you can to try and get that win. Whereas the other team, maybe, I mean, they will try, but maybe they won't be as fit as they might have been otherwise. Um, so yeah, I think I would lean the Ravens on it, and a total of 48, so it's quite a high one. But again, probably got to lean over on that one. It could be potentially a quite fun, exciting game.
Yeah, I think I'd normally lean over in other years, but been a weird start to the season for offenses. So I'm a bit
Mm.
ironically later I will pick an over, but not at this number. So I'm a bit concerned. Any totals near 48, 50 is a bit of a worry at the moment. So I'm going to probably wait and see how the season develops. But yeah, I think I'd probably pick the Cowboys. on the spread, but it's just I feel like I always like the Cowboys. Don't know why. I think I picked them to win probably more games than I should. Could be some AFC bias against the Ravens, but I'd probably pick the Cowboys. But I think it should be quite a good game. In terms of your best bet for this one, what have you gone for?
Yeah, I've gone with Justice Hill over 10.5 receiving yards. He had 10 last week, but he had 50 in week 1 against the Chiefs. Obviously in a game that they were trailing. I do expect this one to be quite high scoring, and the Cowboys generally are pretty good at home. Obviously last week kind of fell apart, but that was it's been a long time since they'd been defeated by that much at home. I think it was 2004 or something ridiculous, something like 20 years before since they'd trailed that long at half time, that far at half time. I remember seeing that pop up. So, yeah, I think Justice Hill obviously is their receiving back. He only caught a couple last week, but again, that was a game they were leading against the Raiders. This week we expect him to be trailing for at least some of it, and he does come in as pass catching back. So it was a low line. I was tempted on Aguilar over 11.5. Again, I think well that's quite low. It could really be only one catch for him. He's only had 2 all year though, a 6-yarder and a 13-yarder. So I'll give that one a miss and still with Justice Hill.
Yeah, I think the logic is sound with the fact they should be, in theory, not leading for most of the game like they were last week. Again, you never can predict in the NFL, but there's less chance they'll be leading throughout the game in this one. We were just talking off air as well for Aguilar, how I felt like every catch he passes is 40 or 50 yards, and then we looked at the stats and we were like, no, that's completely incorrect. So I think you've probably done well to avoid him and gone for Justice Hill. Tim is gone for the other running back. He's gone for Derrick Henry, rush yards over 66.5. Cowboys defensive line, very good against the pass. I know people worry about them against the run. They look pretty good in week 1 against that offense, but again, the Saints ran all over them last week. Any thoughts on that Henry 66.5 line? It's obviously quite small for him, but he's not been as involved for 2 weeks, I think, is what people probably thought he would be.
Yeah, as you say, like you look at what Kamara did to them last week. It's hard to not take the running back really, and obviously we know Derrick Henry can blow up. He was. I'm sure by half time, I think Henry had finally got back to plus yardage last week. It was a weird one. He was on about 4 or 5 carries for -7 or something at some point, and then finally got back to 0 at half time. And obviously, the second half they wore down, and that's kind of I think that's how the Ravens will go. He finished, I think, was 86 in the end. So he has been going over his lines eventually. It's just a little bit painful getting there.
Yeah, you got to wait for watch the whole 4 quarters, which Tim will be doing anyway. So maybe that's why he picked
You'd hope
Derrick Henry's rush yards. I've gone for a Dallas line, so I've gone for Dak Prescott passing attempts over 33.5. Now, please make sure you shop around with this one. Sky Bet was 35.5. Bet365 was 34.5, and then I think they moved that line up as well. Whereas Virgin Bet is still on 33.5. I would bet it probably at 35.5 as well, but if you do find 34 or 33, then sounds stupid, but one extra pass can make the difference in any game. The lines can be that close. I just think this will be one of those games where it's going to be quite back and forth. I'm not sure they're going to be able to run on Baltimore's front. Baltimore did quite well against stopping the run last week. I know the Raiders aren't great at running it, but the numbers were quite good against them last week. Their numbers against the Chiefs on the ground were quite good as well compared to in the air. So I think they're going to be better at stopping the run than the pass. So I think we could see some Dak Prescott completions and some throws in this game. And again, little touch passes and end arounds as well. Some of those can start to count towards these numbers. So yeah, I think I've gone for Dak Prescott to throw a lot of passes. And if the Cowboys do get blown out, then he's going to be throwing even more passes. So it kind of protects me on that side of things as well. Because he threw a lot of passes last week in that defeat. So yeah, I've gone for Dak Prescott. Anything else worth talking about for you on this game, or should we move on to spreads?
No, I'm done on this one.
Cool. Okay, for anyone watching, the ticker at the bottom's got some of the latest spreads on. We'll start with Tim's best bet of the week. So he's gone for San Francisco -7.5. I actually haven't written down who they're playing. They're playing the Rams. Sorry. Which I think look ahead line was 4. But obviously so many injuries. Cooper Kupp's out for this game. Puka Nakua's out for this game. I know their left tackle and right tackle are back, but they're losing their left guard and right guard. So their whole season's been a bit of a disaster. I know we all love them on the pod, but it's been a bit of a disaster. Yeah. So Tim's kind of gone against them and gone San Francisco -7.5 to bounce back after that defeat last week. Any thoughts on that line?
Right. It's hard to argue with him there, really, isn't it? Obviously, their secondary got torn apart by the Cardinals last week as well, so can't trust their defense either. So yeah, I think we need to be firmly off the Rams wagon at the moment. Although we did say, even with our love, that they should be involved in high-scoring games, and if
Yeah.
they had a healthy offense, they probably would have been so far. But obviously, last week they were blown out in the first half, and it was a miserable watch. But yeah, the 49ers, even without McCaffrey, still move the ball. They're looking to bounce back after defeat last week to Sam Darnold. So yeah, you'd imagine the 49ers are going to be up for this one.
Yeah, definitely a bounce back spot for them. They are going to miss Debo and CMC, which is interesting. But I could still see why this would be the one that Tim's picked. I don't think it's a big game. Normally, I'd love to watch this game, but I think it could be a bit one-sided, so might stay away. But that's
Yeah.
Tim's selection. What have you gone for your best spread of the week?
I'm going with an 0-2 team as well. I say as well. Obviously, we're talking to the Ravens. So yeah, I'm going for the Colts -1.5. Um, I yeah, they're playing the Bears. It might be my dislike of Caleb Williams, but I think Caleb Williams is terrible. And while the Bears' defense has been pretty good, has been keeping them in games, if they can't score points on offense, then I don't think they're going to keep up with the Colts. Obviously, week one, the Colts did pretty well, and fell apart a little bit last week. They allowed a lot for Malik Willis, so maybe that's hope for Caleb Williams. But it was obviously you don't get much tape on Malik Willis. There's at least a little bit more on Caleb Williams, so I feel like they should be better prepped for this one. Josh Downs should be back as well, which should help them in the short passing game. If Anthony Richardson is capable of short passes, I'm not sure. And I think they're on like a 15% drop rate as well. I think they're running really high on drops. I think leading on drops so far this year, which you'd hope would be fixing itself eventually as well. So yeah, I like the Colts. I like Anthony Richardson. Maybe it's just a fantasy thing, but I'm hoping they get it right in real games as well.
Yeah, AD Mitchell's got a lot of those drops as well. So someone that I was quite high
Mm.
on when we did the draft pods and stuff. But yeah, he's had a hell of a lot of drops, and I think him and Anthony Richardson don't seem to be on the same page. But yeah, I'm not really liking the Bears' offense. I don't think it's all Caleb. I don't think the scheme's very good. The amount of kind of 1 yard behind the line of scrimmage passes and screens they were throwing last week against the Texans when they were down like 10 points and 13 points. It was just very predictable on offense. So yeah, I think between a rookie that hasn't quite got it yet and a dodgy OC and, to be honest, a dodgy offensive line, I think you'd be disappointed if you didn't cover with Colts -1.5. In terms of mine, I've kind of gone close to home. I've gone for my own team. I've gone for Chiefs -3.5. This line does keep moving all over the place. It's 4.5 this morning. It's down to 3.5. So people are betting on the Falcons, which is nice. If they keep betting on the Falcons, you might get 3. So if you do like the 3.5, there's not a massive difference between 3.5 and 4. So if you want to hold on a bit and see if it gets to 3, and then if it doesn't, it goes to 4, then you can bet it at 4. But at the moment on Sky Bet, it's 3.5. Just see if the line moves. I think, yeah, Chiefs going to be on the road. It's Sunday Night Football. Big win for the Falcons. I just feel like the Chiefs are going to win this game by a touchdown or more. Patrick Mahomes is normally very good in primetime games. I don't think the Falcons' defensive line are going to bother him as much as Trey Hendrickson did last week. And if I'm honest, I don't think the Chiefs are going to let Kirk Cousins sit there and throw it like he did in the second half. I think Spags is going to probably blitz him to death, whereas the Eagles go for the whole rush for, drop everyone into coverage, dink and dunk kind of style defense, make people go the length of the field. Spags will not do that. Spags will be very, very aggressive against Kirk. I think Bijan could have a big game in this one, but I do think they're going to cause some mistakes in the passing game. And I just think that, yeah, if you've got Mahomes -3.5 against Kirk, who I've always liked, but I still don't think he moved great. I don't know what you think. I don't think he moved great in that Eagles game, especially in the first 3 quarters.
Uh, Weirdly enough, I only saw the fourth quarter on the highlights, so can't really judge the first 3 quarters from it. But yeah, the in catch up from what I saw, like there was just players wide open. It was
Yeah.
awful from the Eagles defense. I don't know how much Cousins did himself, but yeah, it looked to me like just terrible defense rather than as much as anything else.
Yeah, so I'll be disappointed if the Chiefs can't kind of exploit that and stop the offense a bit more than the Eagles did. Now Pacheco is out for this game, broken leg, basically. Carson Steele will probably get a lot of snaps. P. Ryan, I know they signed Kareem Hunt, but I don't expect him to do much in this game. But any game where we can't run it, as a Chiefs fan, and he actually lets Mahomes throw it more, is normally goes better for me than a game where we want to run it a lot especially against teams that aren't great. So yeah, I just think the Chiefs should win this game by a touchdown. There's not many Chiefs games that are going to be under 5.5, 6 this season to have a chance to bet on it. So yeah, any thoughts on the Chiefs spread?
And well, if you're trailing, you'll get a flag as well. So it'll all get sorted out for you. So yeah, it's a game I'd stay away for just because of the hook, and obviously the Falcons coming off a win. I wouldn't be going at it myself, but as I said last week, I know the Bengals play the Chiefs close. They seem to know what Mahomes is doing, and he doesn't seem to do well against Bengals, whereas he does for pretty much every other team. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see them bounce back and kill him, smash someone here.
Yeah, I actually would feel worse about this if the Falcons were 0-2 and desperate for a win. I think the 1-1 might help my bet here. But yeah, we'll see what the game looks like. But yeah, I think the Chiefs will cover that. I wouldn't touch the total in this game at all, but I think the Chiefs will cover that. Are there any other spreads that you were interested in for week 3, or was that your only one you were fancying?
No, I mean, really, you'd want to look at the Raiders, but obviously they dropped quarterback. So now that they may have a capable quarterback in there, it's one you don't really want to go near. Bucks only giving up 6.5 under a touchdown, hosting the Broncos. You know, that could be a decent one. Obviously, Bo Nix has been fine, but he's not going to win many games. So I wouldn't mind the Bucks under a touchdown in that one. But no, other than that, I was fairly light on spreads this week again.
Yeah, this is famous last words for our pick'em contest, but I quite liked a few this week, which definitely means they're all going to lose. But Seahawks -4.5 against the Dolphins. I think Skylar Thompson's terrible. I know Tyreek Hill can take a 10-yard screen 80 yards, but Geno Smith's played really well to start the season. Mike McDonald on defense, obviously, is the head coach for Seattle, has called 2 really good games so far and stopped the run relatively well, which the Dolphins are obviously going to try and lean into. So I quite like Seattle -4.5. Green Bay +2.5 as well. Came out today that Love has a chance to play. And they impressed me last week, to be honest. And Will Levis has not impressed me in 2 weeks. There'll be some random meme of like him crying with like someone taking a pick 6 the other way. So I do think that if you can get 2.5 now, that line will change. I honestly think it could go as maybe to 0.5, maybe 1 if Love gets officially announced as starting. So I think 2.5 is a good odds. And then I'm not sure I actually would bet this, but I looked at the Eagles Saints game as a Derek Carr hater. Eagles pretty bad performance on Monday night to finish the game. I quite like the Eagles +2.5. If that gets to 3, I think that could be a really good bet. But I appreciate why people would want to stay away from betting against the best offense in the league through 2 weeks, but I just think Philly are a more talented team. But I can see why people are like bad shout.
I had nowhere to. I can lean on anything on that one. I saw that one, and I'm with you. I think the Eagles will be better, and I think the Saints are going to fall at some point, but they haven't so far. So it was one I stayed away from the spread.
Yeah, the Saints will probably kind of slip away from them whenever one of us picks them to bet on them in the spreads. But until then, they'll probably be fine. Yeah. Cool. That's it for spreads. Let's move on to totals. Again, if you're watching or going back and watching on YouTube, they're on the ticker at the bottom. Why don't we start with you this time, mate? Give us your best total for week 3.
Yeah, as I was just kind of alluding to, I think the Saints will drop off eventually. However, until I see that, I'm going to bet on them to score points. And as I say, I caught the end of the Eagles game last week, the highlights on that, and they can defend first hit. So I've gone with points in that one. It is the highest total of the. Oh no, sorry, second highest total of the week. Lions Cardinals is a little bit higher, at 49.5. But I'm not really that fussed. I thought Bengals Chiefs was under 48 last week. It ended 51. I think Eagles Saints is going to be higher scoring than that one. I think there's a lot more offense on show and potentially worse defenses. So yeah, I quite like points in this one.
Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, I think Saints defense does look good, but as I was saying on my podcast earlier in the week, it is much easier to play defense when you're up 14-0 every game, which they've been in both
Yeah.
games. And the Eagles' defense did look really worrying. The pass rush doesn't look as good as it has done in years past. And Jalen Hurts looks better on the ground than he did last year. And obviously, Saints' offense looks a million times better under Clint Kubiak than it did last year. So I think that's a good shout. For my total, me and Tim have actually gone for the same. So we've gone for the Chargers-Steelers game over 35.5. I assume Tim's logic is similar to mine. That part of it is just the spread is that the line is 35.5. That is extremely low. Chargers have got into the 20s in both games. So I would expect them to get close to 20. And if they get to, just 20, then you need a 2017 ball game to win you your bet. And that is a very Steelers scoreline for them to win or lose by 20 to 17. The only worry for me in this game is the Chargers have started the season as one of the best run defenses in the league. Steelers do want to run it a lot, but how much of that is the Raiders, who are the worst running team so far, and the Panthers, who are the worst team so far? I'm not sure if the Chargers are actually good at stopping the run, or if the teams they played are awful at running / down 2 scores, so have to throw it the whole game. So we'll see on Sunday. But yeah, for me, I just think the Steelers will have some success with Pickens through the air. And obviously Justin Fields kind of running around on the ground, and I'm still a Justin Herbert believer. So I'd be surprised if the Chargers don't score 20 points in this game. So yeah, I don't think it'll fly over. I'm not expecting a shootout between these two head coaches, but I think the total's too low, especially the fact I don't know where the game is, if it's in LA or
it's out Pittsburgh, I think.
It's in Pittsburgh, so it is outside, which is a bit annoying. But I still think 35 is just too low, and Tim's gone the same. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I can only go your way on that one. I mean, they were 36.5 last week against the Broncos, and I think that did go under. But again, that was mainly the Broncos being terrible with Bo Nix, whereas, as you say, the Chargers at least have a top 15 quarterback. That's about the most I'll go for Herbert. But yeah, I mean, you would like to think 2017 or something like that. As you say, it's not a difficult score for either team to get to, so that should take it over the 35.5. And I'd say the Steelers can't carry on doing the way they're doing. I don't care how good their defense is. Someone eventually is going to double team TJ Watt and figure out that makes sense, but no one has yet.
No, true. Chargers' offensive tackles are quite good. I don't want to say they're going to stop TJ Watt, but they've got more of a chance than the guys they've played so far. Anyway, we'll see. Any other totals you like for this week? I found totals a bit harder with how offenses have looked through 2 weeks, to be honest.
Yeah. Texans Vikings. I think I'd probably go over the 46 on that one. But again, it's a fairly high line with, as you say, how poor offenses have been scoring, and I think passing touchdowns is down a huge amount. Everyone's blaming cover 2 and all this kind of stuff, but go back to running, like run the ball better, and then you can open up everything. It doesn't seem that difficult to figure out, but I guess that kind of leans to Chargers getting points as well. If, as you say, if running is the way to go nowadays. But no, I didn't have a huge amount. As I say, I think Texans Vikings would be my only other one, but it is quite high.
Yeah, Packers Titans for me is 37.5. And again, this is if you want to gamble that Jordan Love is going to play, that total will go up the minute they say Jordan Love's starting. So I think if you think he's going to play and you're reading the beat reporters, which seem to say he's got a good chance, then I think 37.5 is a good line. And then if he doesn't play, you've still got a chance for me that 37.5 could go over, just because Will Levis could throw a pick six. Malik Willis could throw a pick six. So you get a chance of a defensive score with both these quarterbacks potentially. And if Jordan Love plays, I think the Packers could score 27 on their own. And you only need 11 points from the Titans. So yeah, I think that line's a bit low. And then I'm not sure I would bet this, but I did take a hard look at the Browns-Giants game under 37.5. I struggled to go under anything with a 3 at the start, but between Daniel Jones and Deshaun Watson, you might have 2 of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL outside of Bryce Young. So I think there's a chance that game could go under, and I think there could be some weather from what I read yesterday in that game as well, which always helps things go under. So yeah, that'd be the only other one for me. But I found totals much harder than spreads this week.
38.5 at 365 as well. So it gives you, I think, 37 probably a key number. I'm not sure. But it gives you a little bit more on that.
Every point counts when you're betting the under. That is for sure.
Yeah,
Under 30 something
yeah,
as well.
definitely. Yeah.
Cool. Let's move away from totals then and go on to touchdown scorers. I have to admit I haven't had much of a chance to look this week, but I've gone with someone who's looked extremely good through 2 weeks of the season. I've gone with Nico Collins. He was 6-4 in week 1. He's now 5-4. I still like it over evens. He clearly their wide receiver 1. He looks extremely good. He's very good against the Bears. He's kind of prone for a big play, but because of his he's a big, strong physical receiver. He's a bit of a red zone weapon as well, whereas Tank Dell doesn't get used as much in the red zone. I know the problem is Diggs is very good as well in the red zone, but I just feel like the amount of targets Nico Collins gets, especially deep down the field, he could take one to the house. So, yeah, I've gone for Nico Collins because I'm with you. I think that game could be high scoring, and CJ Stroud seems to love him. So, yeah, I've gone for Nico Collins. Who have you picked for your touchdown scorer?
I've gone with my Colts love and Anthony Richardson love. I've gone with Anthony Richardson 6-5. Again, I just think that they're going to be a lot better this week. I've only just realised my bet of Colts to have a rushing touchdown in every game at 50-1 died last week. I just realised that they were terrible, and it just dawned on me they threw one to Alec Pierce, and that was it last week. So yeah, that's one I'll probably go for again next year at 50-1. But yeah, regardless, I do think that the Colts are going to be a lot better this week. I think the Bears are terrible. I do not rate them at all. So yeah, I think that they should get ahead, and you should see Jonathan Taylor or Anthony Richardson hitting the end zone. And fingers crossed, for me, it'll be Richardson.
Yeah, you've gone for a commiserations bet. You didn't hit your Colts season long, so you've doubled down and gone for a Colts because he's not going to catch a passing touchdown. It's going to have to be a rush. So,
because I am correct.
I think you've got a good chance there. They've looked quite good actually, the Bears as well, defending passing, but they've been a bit kind of open to the run, especially in that Titans game. So you've got a chance with Richardson for sure. And I don't think we'll see 6-5 many times if he scores again this week because. Yeah, last week he got to the 2-yard line. The week before he had that good touchdown against the Texans. If he scores again this week, we're going to get one of those Josh Allen kind of 4-5s, I think, at some point with Anthony Richardson. And then, yeah, final selection. Tim's gone for Brandon Ayuk at 13-10. He's shortened a little bit because of all the injuries. Like we said, they've got CMC out. George Kittle took a knock, but is going to play this week. But Deebo Samuel will be out for a few weeks with a calf strain. So, yeah. I guess Tim's logic would be the Rams' defense looked terrible last week. Brandon Ayuk's clearly the number one weapon, especially in the pass game. And the 49ers, again, are probably looking to bounce back. So, yeah, I think that's probably sound logic from Tim. And 13-10 is not a bad price for wide receiver 1 on a very, very good team.
Yeah, you're probably looking at some nice bet builders on that game because obviously the Rams have got hardly anyone to throw the ball to. So you're looking Marcus Robinson 11-5, which is not worth the bet, but 5-1 for Tutu Atwell, 3-1 for Juwan Jennings for the 49ers. I think you can probably put a couple together and see where you go on that one. Personally, I prefer George Kittle, even with the injury. He gets a lot when Deebo's out. So 6-4 for him. It would probably be where I'd look on that personally, but Ayuk obviously hasn't started the season well after a tumultuous summer. So you're going to have to hope that he will eventually bounce back to some form, and against the beaten up Rams team, why not?
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I didn't have a chance to look at many others, but Jake Ferguson seems to be healthier for Dallas. Love a tight end bet Jake Ferguson a lot last year. They're against the Ravens, like I said, and I think that game could be a bit back and forth. So I quite like Jake Ferguson for the Cowboys at 15-8. Were there any other players or any other odds you looked at for touchdowns or not?
No, I didn't really get around anything today. Thursdays have been a bit crazy for me recently, so I've not really been prep anything, I'm afraid.
Cool. Will you be tweeting any out in your preview for the weekend? Will you go touchdown scorers?
Yeah. I don't know. I might just do nothing this week after last weekend. It was a bit of a bloodbath for me. So yeah, I think I need to have a proper sit down and Saturday put some effort into a bit more research than just a Sunday morning look.
Cool, makes sense. If I was looking for my weekly weekly Chiefs bet, I don't hate Samaje Perine at 11-4. To be honest, Carson Field's going to get a lot of the work, but if they throw a screen in the red zone, it could be to some RGP Ryan. But again, we'll see. We've definitely recommended less tight ends this week. So this will be the week all the tight ends score touchdowns. But we'll see. We'll come back to the drawing board with our tight end Trixie maybe next week.
Well, the tight end scoring's been so terrible. I saw today that Tigger Quanquo was the top 10 tight end in fantasy with an average of like 4 points a game. It's just, the position has died a death this year. He is 11-2, weirdly enough, if you did fancy Tigger Quanquo. Luke Musgrave, your boy, 14-1 now.
He doesn't get any targets. That's the problem.
From week 1 being 10-3 to 14-1 in a couple of weeks is quite something. Tucker Craft 8-1. Could be a better one there. That's on Betfred, so not a huge amount of people have that. And I still have no idea what midnight is, but they have some decent prices on everything.
What about Taysom Hill 9-4? I don't hate a bit of Taysom Hill against the Eagles. He's been used a lot this year, so I don't mind 9-4. Because no surprise that Alvin Kamara is now 4-6. On Sky Bet, anyways, 4-6 after scoring 4 was it last week? So and Shaheed's now down to 13-8. We could have got him at 4-1 start of the season.
He's 3-1 still, I think. On 2-1. I did actually have a look at Shaheed earlier on I'll check it. 2-1. So for me, still decent enough. I think that's all right for him.
I don't mind that. I like the craziness of picking Taysom Hill because every time he randomly turns up on the field to do something completely strange that you not expected them to use him for, then you've got a chance of winning your touchdown bet. So I'd still go Taysom Hill. Jawan Johnson's still 3-1. I know he's been tipped up on this podcast twice in weeks 1 and week 2. He's 3-1 as well, and he's definitely a red zone weapon for Derek Carr against that Eagles defense. So some good options there. Cool. To round us up then, best bet for the week. So for spread, Adam's gone for Colts -1.5. Tim's gone 49ers -7.5, and I've gone for my Chiefs -3.5. For totals, me and Tim have both gone for the Steelers-Chargers game over 35.5. Adam's gone for the Philly Saints game at over 49.5. And touchdown scorer, Adam's gone for Anthony Richardson 6-5. Tim's gone for Brandon Ayuk at 13-10. Then I've gone for Nico Collins at 5-4. So we've really shortened our touchdown selections to try and get some winners. But a win is a win. That's what we're looking for week 3. Anything else you've looked at for week 3, or is that it?
No, I was just looking at the Texans. I was hoping that Cam Akers was a bit more than 5-4, but that is what he is. But Dario Gumbawale is 14-1. If Mixon and Pierce miss out, which is quite possible, they didn't train today, then might be worth a nibble at him or the mighty CJ Ham at 20-1. Who knows? For the Vikings on the other side, do like a good fullback touchdown occasionally.
Yeah, fullback and tight ends. That's where this podcast goes. But yeah, CJ Ham is like the all-time fullback. He's been. I feel like I've not stopped seeing his name since I started watching the NFL. So I'll take that at 20-1. Cool. All right, that's it for week 3 then. Obviously, we'll be back as always for week 4. Please remember to follow everything we do at 410 Yards on Twitter/X. Please like and subscribe on YouTube as well. I know Sam's going to have another podcast out, I think, from the main pod on Wednesday. And those episodes have been really, really good, kind of deep diving into storylines rather than just talking about reviews and previews. So everyone should go check out the main 410 Yards pod. And like I said, we'll be back for week 4, hopefully with some more winners. Please remember to gamble responsibly. And bye-bye for now.